Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be your host for today. My name is Jesse I. Diaz, and together we are here to make your career journey smoother. I've had the privilege of working for the Air Force, the Army, and now at the DoD level, holding diverse positions from Chief of Marketing to Assistant Club Manager at the Officers Club to Community Planner and Quality Assurance Inspector. In the DoD, there are no limits to what you can achieve. All you need is a determination to learn and the willingness to embrace the training opportunities that the DoD provides. As we prepare to dive into this question and answer session, here's what you need to know. To save bandwidth, we are asking anyone who is not on the panel to turn your cameras off and ensure that your mics are muted. Today's session is your ticket to a possible career in the DoD. When we are done with this question and answer session, all links that we discuss and any questions not answered will be available on our DoD Civilian Careers website. That is www.dodciviliancareers.com. We encourage your questions using the chat feature, so don't hold back. Stay tuned for a great video setting the stage for our question and answer session today. Now let's kick things off with a video that gives you an idea of some of the many things that civilians do in the DoD.
While you may be aware of the military opportunities in the armed forces, there are also outstanding DoD civilian career opportunities that directly support the warfighter. The work of government employees impacts the lives of every American and the lives of people around the world. You can play a vital role in addressing pressing issues, from homelessness to homeland security. Average government salaries are competitive. Pay can also increase fairly quickly for top candidates with strong education and experience. Federal benefits, including health insurance, retirement, and vacation, are extremely competitive with, if not superior, to other sectors. Where do you want to work and live? Whatever the answer, chances are you can find federal government work there. Many people think that government jobs are all in Washington, D.C., but in fact, 80% of the Department of Defense jobs are outside of the D.C. area. More than 50,000 DoD employees work abroad. There are federal jobs suited to every interest and skill, from art history to zoology. The Department of Defense is also a great place to combine your skills with your interests. For example, you could use your mathematics background and your interest in the environment by working as an accountant at the Defense Contract Audit Agency. Your engineering degree to improve aircraft combat survivability during counter-terrorist missions, or your biology degree and interest in medicine to conduct cutting-edge medical research in partnership with the Army at Johns Hopkins Children's Center. You want to seek additional education while planning for future employment? The Department of Defense has you covered. The Pathways programs are streamlined developmental programs tailored to promote employment opportunities for students and recent graduates within the Department of Defense. Additional incentives that may be available include tuition assistance, student loan repayment, and public service loan forgiveness. The Department of Defense is at work 24 hours a day, every day, to protect the nation's security. Through a diverse, dynamic, skilled, and agile workforce, DoD faces a changing world with a confidence and compassion that can only be achieved when many ideas and methodologies are brought to the table. Through diversity of origin, culture, language, style, and abilities, we meet the challenges and threats of our global community. DoD prides itself on being an equal opportunity employer, always keeping diversity and inclusion at the forefront. Flexible schedules, including telework, are a major plus for those with busy schedules or long commutes. And of course, everyone's favorite, federal holidays. President's Day, anyone? Plus, generous vacation and sick leave. All of these packaged together make the government an attractive employer if you're looking to have a life outside of work.
Okay. I think I've let everybody in so far. All right. So what a great video to remind you that you're not pursuing a job, you're building a legacy. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for our first ever Zoom Live DoD Civilian Career Students and Recent Graduates question and answer session. Today we embark on a journey of discovery to illuminate the path to success within the Department of Defense. You'll have an opportunity to peek behind the curtain, share the keys to unlock thrilling internships, and explore the doors that lead to a phenomenal career opportunity. Our focus today centers on launching the careers of college students and recent graduates. What you'll discover is astounding paid internships, student loan support, postgraduate studies, and even sign-on bonuses. As part of our intern and recent graduates programs, you'll find yourself in some cases working alongside our dedicated men and women in uniform. This is your chance to dive into a hands-on experience and tackle the world's greatest challenges. Before we dive deeper, we want to make sure everyone understands that we speak of or referring to when we say Department of Defense. The DoD includes the Army, Navy, along with Marines and Coast Guard, Air Force, along with Space Force, and 34 agencies. Our mission is to protect and serve our nation, and today we're here to serve you. With all that being said, I wanted to take a minute to say, the DoD is not always able to make contact with all colleges, universities, trade schools, vocational schools, or tech schools, or more, but we want to encourage and empower all college students and recent graduates to spread the word. The Department of Defense is opening doors to incredible summer opportunities and promising career paths. Join the movement and share this valuable information with your fellow students, professors, friends, and family. Be the change, follow us on social media, and stay updated to embark on exciting journeys with the DoD. Now is the time to start getting your resumes in for summer opportunities in the new year and jobs that are now or will be open to recent graduates. Your future is waiting, so start your adventure today. Again, I'm Jesse Ideas, and I'm thrilled to be your host today. And I'm joined by Mel Dale Garcia and Allison Falcone, who are in the back to answer questions and any HR questions as needed. There are people behind the curtain, so you won't see them. Our panelists are Ed Buhan, Crystal Garza, Danielle Bass. So welcome, team. Would you each take a minute to introduce yourselves? We'll start with you, Miss Danielle Bass.
Well, thank you, Jesse. It's great to be here today. Hello to everyone. My name is Danielle. I am a recruitment program manager for the Department of the Navy, specifically at NAVSEA, which is the Naval Sea Systems Command. I'll turn it over to Ed.
Hi, Jesse. Ed is trying to be let into the room, but I can go for now if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, perfect. So hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Crystal Garza. I'm the Strategic Outreach and Recruiting Program Manager, very long, abbreviated, it's called SOAR. But I work at the Air Force Personnel Center at Joint Base San Antonio, Randolph. I manage program planning, developing program guidance, marketing and recruiting. I review, study, analyze procedures and guidance to improve effectiveness and efficiency of programs throughout the Air Force. But specifically, I focus on PSIP, PAC, and COP, and those are internships and developmental programs that we'll talk about. But I manage and assist 19 different career field teams so they can go out and find the next generation of leaders for Air Force civilian service. I earned my undergrad in behavioral science and then my master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. I am a military spouse, and then I've been doing federal employment for about 15 years now. And then Mr. Bijan, over to you, sir, for your introduction.
Hey, good afternoon to everybody. Someone has a hot mic. If they could go ahead and mute their mic, that'd be great. Because this is such a great opportunity for everybody that's on here with us. My name is Ed Bujan. I work with Crystal at the Air Force Personnel Center in San Antonio, Texas. I oversee the outreach and recruiting efforts for students who are about to graduate and those looking for internship. We support 19 career fields, anything from engineering, financial management, Office of Special Investigation, and many, many more. We have incentives such as student loan repayments. So a lot of great things, and that's kind of what we do. And once again, it is a great pleasure to be here with you today. So I'm going to pass this back. I kind of joined in late. I got kicked off, so I'm not sure. It's back to you, Jesse, or where?
No, we're good. Thank you for that, Ed. Thank you. And again, if you do have your mic on, please have it muted if you're not part of the panel. Okay, thank you everyone for being here today. Now let's dive in and address the elephant in the room. And I know some of you are probably thinking, what's he talking about? I'm talking about what some of you may have heard about in the news, the furlough. So Mel, could you tell us a little bit more about the furlough?
Sure. Hello to everyone. So I just want to give you a quick 101 on government funding as it relates to furlough. Every year, Congress is responsible for passing a budget so that federal agencies can continue to operate in the following fiscal year. This budget is also referred to as a spending bill or an appropriation. If Congress doesn't pass a budget by midnight of September 30th, the government will either be funded on a temporary basis, which is known as a continuing resolution, which gives Congress a little bit more time to reach a consensus on a permanent budget, or the government will shut down. In the event of a government shutdown, federal employees who are not required by law to work are placed in a temporary, and remember, it's temporary, non-pay, non-duty status, also known as a furlough. So that's that F word. It's a furlough, right? But it is temporary. So essentially, these employees are not working or being paid. For federal employees who have to work, though, because they're protecting life and property, they will continue to work in a shutdown. Regardless, both categories of employees during a furlough, again, are not being paid during the shutdown. But once that shutdown ends, in other words, when Congress passes that budget, both categories of employees will receive retroactive pay for the entire time that the government was shut down. So just to keep it in perspective, over the past 50 years, the government has shut down 22 times, and the length of the shutdown could be from 1 day to as much as 35 days so far. Please don't let shutdowns scare you from exploring DoD careers because it is temporary. We have lots of job opportunities for you, and still, with the shutdowns, the government is the most secure employer. Thank you, Jesse. Over back to you.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Mel. Before we continue, there's many questions that were asked at events when we're either virtually or in person, and I wanted to take this moment to answer those. Those questions are who would usually ask is, do I have to enlist in the military? Is there a military requirement to apply for the DoD positions? The answer is a resounding no. You don't need to enlist in the military, nor do you require prior military experience to apply for a DoD job. All you need to do is apply and meet the specific knowledge, skills, and abilities for that job that you're interested in. So simple answer is no. So we're gonna go ahead and start the questions with some of our panelists. Ms. Danielle Bass, could you tell us a little bit about the culture at the Washington Navy Yard?
Sure, no problem, Jesse. So again, I am responsible for the recruitment program specifically at the Washington Navy Yard in Washington, D.C. And so here we're definitely very family oriented and of course customer focused. So as you mentioned, you don't have to be in the military to work for the Department of Navy or NAVSEA. Actually, we're about 90% civilians, and we are definitely focused on our mission and supporting the actual fleet. But with that, spending time with family, having a balance, personally and work wise is very important here and to our teams. And then you also have the support of your specific team with that.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Ed or Crystal, do you want to add to that when it comes to the culture in the Air Force?
I'll add something. So work-life balance is very important. When we continuously do surveys, that is something that always populates back is why people stay with us is for work-life balance. And that is a big part of the reason why we are able to get so many people into Air Force civilian service because there is that focus on work-life balance. When people have that work-life balance, they're able to perform better at work because they're able to spend time with their family or their friends whenever they are off.
Thank you, Crystal. I'll go ahead and add that to that as well. I've been working for the DoD for 29 years now, 30 years in June of the new year. And I will say that the work-life balance is a big thing and a big player. And having to be able to work from home or having the privilege of working from home, I can tell you that my supervisor does check on me and he does make sure that, hey, make sure you're only working 8 hours a day. If I see, she understands, we go over, not go over, but they want to stay within that 8-hour window, which is a great thing. And I will say the camaraderie back and forth of working with the DoD is awesome. It's amazing. I mean, you spend 8 hours a day with these people who end up becoming like your family. So you have that family banter back and forth. So it makes the job a lot more interesting and a lot of fun. I also want to remind people that if you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and those questions will be answered. I'll go ahead and go on to my next question. And actually, this question is for you, Ms. Crystal Garza. The question is from one of the students is asking, I'm about to graduate. Is there another program that I might qualify for?
Yes, so we have the recent graduate program. It's called Palace Acquire or Copper Cap program. So it's perfect for you if you're a recent graduate, even if you graduated maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, but it is intended for those recent graduates 2 years or earlier than 2 years to come into this developmental program. So technically it can be called the internship, but it is more of a developmental program. So it's a 2 to 3 year developmental program. You get a training plan. So you're really focused. We're focused on you and helping you develop as a leader in Air Force civilian service. So you're going to have those mentors. You're going to have a training plan specific towards you. And you're going to be able to use the skills that you learned in school to help whatever agency you're working at, whatever section you're at. You can bring new ideas and new perspectives. So yes, we do have a program for you. And we'd love to get your information and talk a little bit more offline and learn a little bit more about you and how we can be a better fit.
And Crystal, I heard that you used to be a PAC.
Yes, sir. So I was a PAC many years ago. But like I said, I earned my degree in organizational and industrial psychology. So mine was like human services, social science aspect. And when we do these internships or developmental programs, it's very broad. So there, like we were saying in the beginning, there's 19 different career field teams, and Mr. Boujon explained, it's OSI, security, so many different things. So there is a fit for everybody. But yes, I was in the developmental program. I've been doing this. I've been a GS employee for about 15 years. And after doing that developmental program, I continue to promote and progress. So all the hands-on training that I received has paid dividends for me and for my family.
Would you recommend this program for any college student that's out there thinking about it?
Oh, definitely. So me and Mr. Boujon were actually talking earlier and how so many people want to join the program, but maybe they don't fit in within that 2 years. But it's a great program because we are focused on you and growing you. And then every year you get to promote. So it is a great opportunity and I would highly recommend it.
Awesome. Awesome. I know if I had known about that whenever I started my career 29 years ago, I probably would have gotten into the PAC program. That sounds like a lot of fun and a great way to move up and become a leader or future leader for the DoD. Awesome. Okay, we've got another question that was asked. Miss Allison, could you give us some general information about the hiring process in the DoD?
Sure. Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, just to give a very broad overview of hiring process, it does kind of vary between the different components and between the different actual opportunities that are being advertised, whether it be an internship or a recent graduate or a regular just permanent full-time position. So I guess the first thing that I'd recommend everybody do is just identify the vacancies that interest you. So we have in there a couple times, and we'll put that in there again, the DoD civilian careers page. On that page, you can find all of the opportunities within DoD, and you can search by your location or by your occupation, or if you're not even really sure, there is a job exploration tool where you can answer a few questions, and it'll kind of guide you into some potential career paths that might be of interest to you. And also on our students and recent graduates page, we have a list of all of our internships, apprenticeships, fellowships, things of that nature. And again, there's a tool there. If you answer 3 simple questions, it'll point you in the direction of different programs that might be of interest to you. Thank you, Jimmy, for posting the link in there. But once you find the opportunity that really sparks your interest, we recommend that you really review the details of that particular vacancy announcement or the requirements. That all again have their slight nuances. Whether it be the location or the security clearance requirements or the education that's required to be able to apply for that specific position. So I won't lie, there's a lot of information in those and a lot of confusing government information in those sometimes, but taking your time and really reading through it and weeding out really what's important is, is really my best advice to you. Once you've looked at the vacancy announcement, said, hey, this position is for me, this is really the path that I want to explore, you really want to go then and prepare your application. Again, in that vacancy announcement, it'll tell you everything that you need. And I'll post in here in a second all of the common documents that are required for applications. That it's not necessarily for every single one, but it's usually the ones that are required for most that might be helpful for you. Whenever you're doing your application, you need to make sure that you're really thorough about describing your experience, putting the title, the dates, and by dates being, month and year of your experience of work so that they can quantify actually how much experience you have. We want all of your skills, your education, training, certifications, all of those things should be in your application package. And note that you might need to change your application package depending on what job you're applying for. Each vacancy announcement has a little bit of nuances to it. So you might need to highlight some experience more in one resume versus another because of whatever the vacancy announcement is specifically asking for. Once all the applications are submitted, the HR office then reviews them to make sure that those that apply actually meet the qualifications of the particular position and any eligibility requirements set for that position. And then they send a list of the most highly qualified people to the hiring manager, at which point the hiring manager then looks at them all and decides who they'd like to interview. And then from there, who they'd like to select. And at that point, you go to the onboarding process, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So there are quite a few different steps. Again, I'm going to put some links in the chat in just a minute that outline that so you don't have to memorize everything I just said, as well as some places you can go for tips on writing your resume and, reading the vacancy announcement. So thanks,
Okay.
Jesse.
Oh, no, thank you, Allison. Thank you for that. And also just wanted to add, don't forget to add your volunteer experience, because depending on what kind of position you're holding in a volunteer experience, that can actually help you as well. So please list your volunteer experience as well. So we have another question that came in. How long is the onboarding process with the Navy? That's for you, Ms. Danielle Bass.
So the onboarding process, I would slate it varies, but at the most between 45 and 65 days. And this is due to the process to obtain a clearance, as well as things such as references.
Okay. And then Ed, as far as with the Air Force goes, how would that work for the onboarding process?
That's about the same. I mean, the key here is suitability. That could always delay. Suitability meaning like a preliminary security clearance background check. So if there's anything that might be in question, that could always slow the process. But I think overall, I was going to say the Air Force, but I think DoD in general has really put a lot of emphasis in reducing the amount of time that it takes to onboard.
Okay. And we've been getting a lot of questions that have been coming in, and this is open to all of you. It says, are there any positions that students and recent graduates are able to apply for that are overseas? And then we've seen some students that are asking specifically about Japan and Europe.
I'll take that, Jesse. And the whole purpose of developmental program or even our own internships, and I'm speaking Air Force here, is to really keep you within the states. The only locations right now where we have interns and we have PALS Acquire students have got into the program is Hawaii and Alaska. But other than that, because they're developmental positions, we prefer that the first assignment with an Air Force civilian service, and I'm not sure about Danielle with the Navy, is that we normally keep them in the States Once they complete the 3-year program and they are getting ready to outplace, then the opportunities are unlimited if they want to go ahead and pursue overseas assignments. So, Danielle, is that kind of the same for you or something different?
Absolutely, Ed. Yes, we're both on the same page with that.
Okay, that's actually good answers. Thank you all. And then, Mr. Buhan, is there a requirement for your programs in the Air Force?
The only requirements right now is that you're actively enrolled as a full-time student. Now, remember, we're looking at 2 programs: the Premier College Intern Program, which is right now for students that are students that are going to be graduating either fall, December of 2024, or summer 2025, fall 2025. We want to give you that opportunity of an internship so that you could experience what life is on an Air Force base. I'm sure Danielle, the same thing. 2.95 GPA is the requirement. You got to have a minimum of that. Be enrolled, accredited, university, college, and be a full-time student. Now, for the recent graduate program, which goes into the PAS acquire or the copper cap, within 2 years, you have to have completed your degree and still meet those other requirements.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. And what is the best way for them to apply for these positions? You, Ed, and Danielle.
I'll let Danielle go first, and then I'll pass mine on. I just want to make sure that I keep her excited and going here.
I appreciate that. So great question. So for the Navy or NAVSEA, especially here in DC, I would say Handshake. So we do utilize Handshake and post a lot of our positions, especially internships, on Handshake, as well as USA Jobs. Also, if there's individuals out there related, looking for STEM or engineering related positions, we are partnered with NAVAIR and NAVWAR. We call that partnership the Navy Civilian Careers Partnership. And so we go to about 10 diversity events nationally every year, every recruiting season. So like Society of Women in Engineering, National Black Engineers, so on and so forth. You can always see us there in all 3 areas. We'll be represented there looking for interns and new grads. So I would say those would be the top ways to kind of get the information and apply and get in front of hiring managers as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll really piggyback off of you real quick. And this is one of the reasons we're having this today. It's a great opportunity for you to get to hear from the Navy, from myself as the Air Force, and then overall from DoD. My case, Crystal and I, the programs that we run between September and October, we've come tomorrow, we have done 72 college career fairs. Now, we cannot hit everybody. So having this opportunity for you to be here today will really give you that knowledge, even if we were not able to make it to your school. I just posted 2 links, afintern.com or afciviliancareers.com. That right there will ask you for some information about you, give you the opportunity to also research the different career field teams that we have, kind of the missions that we have, and then upload your resume into it. And then my good partner there, Crystal, today she sends out a list of the leads that have come into Salesforce so that these 19 career field teams have the opportunity to go in there and be able to pull your resumes. So those 2 links are very helpful to get you in that career path to get you started. Crystal, do you want to add anything to that?
No, sir. That's correct.
Oh, no, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
actually, I will add something. So if you're going in, it's just important that you put like your GPA. If you're going to submit your resume, put your GPA on top because we do have that 2.95 GPA requirement. So if you're not already focusing on having that GPA, start focusing on it now. So if it's a little bit lower than that, you can apply for it next summer. But that's something that is important.
Okay. Then I hate to put you on the spot here, Miss Crystal, but what do you think are some misconceptions that people have when they're trying either to get into the PSIP program or the PAC program, like the younger generation?
Misconceptions. I'm gonna have to think about this. Ed, do you have anything off the top
Yeah,
of your head?
absolutely, absolutely. And um, I'm a little younger than she is, so I do have a little bit more knowledge. No, I'm kidding. I'm the older one. You know what? It starts with branding. I don't know how many of you, when you saw this advertisement and saw DoD, you just said, nah, not for me, not realizing that there is a civilian side. I know Danielle mentioned the Navy force. We are about 170 plus thousand civilians that support, I like to call it shoulder to shoulder, working alongside the military. So I think the misconception out there is the branding. For any of us. You right away think military. And I could say that because I actually served 24 years on the active duty side. And I had a little bit of a hard time transitioning when I heard civilians say, well, I don't want to serve. Then I realized that this is a team effort. So some gentleman, or I think it was a gentleman, and if you were not a gentleman, I apologize, but a PhD in STEM. So my first thought when I see that is research. You know, the opportunity for you to do research and to support what we call the war fighter and whatever technology is out there, that's what makes the difference. So for me, based on all the years of experience, the misconception is the branding. We are the civilian side of the military, but we take as much pride as they do in supporting the mission and defending the country. So hopefully that answers the question.
Danielle, you
Chris,
want
did
to?
you get time to think?
Yeah, I guess you're right. A lot of times when we go to events, we have like Air Force civilian service. And as soon as they see that Air Force, they're like, no, do we have to enlist? And we're like, no, like I'm not in a uniform. This is my uniform. So no, we work alongside them. We get the mission done. It's really great because we know we have a purpose. Like our job is very meaningful. So we have a lot of people that maybe weren't able to enlist that wanted to, but they still get that culture. You know, they still get to come on base or the Space Force base, whatever it might be, and work alongside those people. So yes, that is the misconception. They think that they might have to deploy or go to war, put on a uniform, run a mile in a certain amount of time, but we don't have those requirements.
Good, good. Danielle, do you want to add anything?
Um, no, I mean, I think Crystal and Ed really hit the nail on the head because we're all in the same boat with that. That's like number one. So, being a civilian myself, being in the workforce for about 18, 19 years, not prior military, I will have to definitely agree with Crystal. We are civilians alongside of the fleet, and just the mission is very fulfilling. And, I enjoy it tremendously myself.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And everyone that's out there, if you want to, just please keep adding to the chat and we'll go ahead and answer some of those questions. And panel, feel free if you see something in the chat that you want to address and make sure that you say that out loud so all of us can hear that. Feel free to do that as well. Okay, so as I said before, we did have some questions that were sent to us prior to this event, and we want to take a moment to answer those. So I have some questions here for Ed and Danielle and Crystal. So y'all can feel free to answer, if it applies to you. But we have students asking about the requirements for like a data analyst, a research analyst, IT, and cybersecurity. I believe in those ones they were asking about the Air Force. So Ed, could you give us some more information on that?
Yeah, actually, I just wrote something real quick in the chat about that. And so just keep in mind that in the two primary fields that we're discussing today, or the two primary programs, these are entry level. So as an intern, you're going to come in and I'll be honest with you, there are very few resumes, and the ones that are there do stand out. Where I see aerospace engineer or cyber degree in cyber, but when you write down jobs, I see barista at Starbucks, which is fine because I'm maintaining your salary because that's kind of where I go, so that's cool. But there's other things. So people always say, well, I don't have a chance because my internships have not related to my field. Yes, we want you to do that, But at the same time, we also have to recognize these are entry-level positions. You're not going to be at that level yet. So, don't shortchange yourself. In regards to that question, it all depends where you go. And I'm sure Danielle could echo the same. Every facility, every center that you go that within the Air Force, either be from Boston all the way to the California or San Antonio, Texas to Ohio, serves a different mission. So depending where you go, yeah, it might say cyber or it might be computer engineer, but it depends what that mission is. So it's for me to sit here and say, hey, this is what you're going to be doing, or this is what we do. Yeah, do we need folks like you in the computer in the cyber analytics? Absolutely, yes. But it will be unfair for me to tell you, hey, this is what you're going to be doing because every mission is different. So, Danielle?
Yes, Ed, I also agree. We're on the same team, so I'm just piggybacking off of you. But yeah, so again, with us, the same situation. The roles or the jobs are more entry level. And so again, we have 9 divisions here at the Washington Navy Yard and about 4 different program executive offices that do different things. So the Navy's core is to maintain, and build ships, submarines, and combat systems. But all of the different PEO offices and directorates kind of play a different role in that. So, like Ed said, if you're doing data analysis and corporate operations HR, as opposed to our team submarine, your duties and what you're focused on may be a little bit different. So it just depends.
Okay, good. And then since we do have you here, Danielle, there were some specific questions that were asked about the Navy. So they're asking about, are there co-op positions? The person here said, I am currently working one at Newport News Shipbuilding and was wondering what NAVC has to offer.
Okay, so yes, so I'm not sure if they mean they're at an actual shipyard, but we do have different opportunities at different sites. So here in DC, we do not offer co-ops, just summer internships that can extend, through the winter break. We do have some other types of programs that are catered toward entry-level talent, like acquisition development. We do support the SMART program, which is more catered toward engineering. So there's some different opportunities, but not necessarily the co-op here at the Navy Yard.
Okay. And with that, also, we had another person that was asking that they'd like to learn more about the engineering and research on postdoc opportunities at NAVC.
Okay, and so that would play more kind of what Ed and I were just talking about. It really depends on what role or what kind of PEO with NAVC or directorate or even a warfare center. Kind of depends on where you're going into with the role for that research position.
Okay. And then we did have some more questions that were being asked, a lot about resumes. I'll let you take that on first, Ed, and if you want to pass it on to Crystal and Danielle, feel more than welcome. But they're just asking, like, what's going to attract you whenever you see their resume?
It's interesting. And Crystal and I, and Ms. Desiree, who's one of the leadership positions in DC Pass, we don't teach, we do mock-up interviews and also how to write and pointers on resumes. And it's interesting because I was sharing with Crystal yesterday a resume because I'm looking at interviewing for some cyber positions right now for internships, and it was the most well put together resume. It read exactly how we wanted to read: name, email, phone number, school, volunteer work, leadership positions. I mean, it was perfect until I called the person to interview her. If you're not enrolled in school or you left that semester and decided to take the semester off, you you shouldn't put in your resume that you are enrolled in school because that's giving me a false sense. Second, your GPA, just like Crystal said earlier, it's important that you see it because when I'm looking at a resume, I'm catching the top really quick. And if you intrigue me and give me a reason to continue looking at it, then I'm going to go and further. But if you don't, so when I did speak to her and I asked her about the resume fooled the heck out of me because I was ready to say, man, you're my number one candidate. Unfortunately, her GPA was 2.0, so didn't qualify. So, and she was not enrolled in as a full-time student. So things that we look for is making sure that we're going to read from up front. And what it is tell me in 30 seconds something about you. Tell me something in 30 seconds about Samantha, Elizabeth, Gabriella, whatever it is, because that's what's going to then make me want to continue reading about it. But if you don't put when you're going to graduate, I cannot tell if you qualify for the Premier College Intern or if you qualify for the PAC program. So there's some little things there that I think are very critical when you put that resume together. Also, don't put too much. Sometimes I see resumes, and I wish I had some here, where you use the left side to talk about something, then you go to the middle, and then you go to the right. Man, you just did a roadmap, and I just got so lost that by the time I get to the bottom, I forgot what you told me at the beginning. So keep it simple, but really tell me what I need to know about you. Crystal, do you want to add anything?
Nope, I think that's perfect. I think another helpful thing would be to maybe put some of your skills that you have. First you start, well, typically with a resume, you start with your recent job or experiences first, but it's always helpful to put some skills that you have. So don't just focus on everything that you do at your place of work or you've done in the past, but focus on some of those interpersonal skills that you have, like communication or organization, because those are really time management. Those are all very important skills as well.
Thank you. Danielle, do you want to add anything that you might look at whenever you're looking at the resumes?
So I agree with Crystal and Ed. The only thing that I have to add is that when you're, reviewing the application process, any other documentation that we're asking you for, definitely make sure you provide it. Don't necessarily think that you may have you might, but automatically have the opportunity to provide it later. Just kind of follow the instructions and give the supporting documents that like a lot of times is transcripts when you're asked for it.
I got you. I wanted to add a little bit about the resumes also, because I remember when you're leaving college, they tell you, hey, make it simple, make it your name, your address, your basic information, maybe add one or two bullets, for each job that you held. And that's not how it works when you work for the DoD. They want to know everything that you do. One of the things that I always make sure that I tell my friends is I have like 5 different resumes, because it just depends on what your job you're applying for. You always have to make sure that your knowledge, skills, and abilities match up to what you're applying for. Look at what they're doing, what they're asking for, the requirements that you need to have, and don't make it up. Make sure that it's something that you actually do and that you can go ahead and talk about that when you put that on your resume. And I know a lot of times people are asking, well, if I do that, I'm going to have a 4-page resume. Well, you know what? I would rather have a 4-page resume that tells the people exactly what I do versus 1 page that doesn't give them a clear view, and then you don't get an interview. So I can honestly say, and I know my boss is on here, my resume, I think, was about 11 pages long. And it was the things that I had done within the last 12 years. So I wasn't scared to send one in that long. I know some of my friends were saying I wouldn't send one with more than 3 pages, but I wanted to make sure that everything that I've done that pertains to the job that I'm applying for was covered somewhere along my career so that they could see, hey, I have done this, and I've done this for several years in different services. So don't be afraid. I know somebody was asking how long should a resume be. I'm not saying give them a 20-page resume, but put all your information in there and then go back and look at it, and then just take out the things that aren't important and list the things that you're actually doing. Because when they ask you those questions, you need to be able to speak on those.
Yeah, but you've been around like for 100 years, so that's a little bit of a difference between you and the students.
You're funny, Ed. And he's older than me, right? Or are we the same age, Ed?
I think I'm a little older.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Oh.
Hey, so as you keep talking, and this is great, I'm kind of curious of one thing. For those that are online, just real quickly, if you could, and if you have the minute, I'm kind of intrigued to know what schools are you guys coming to us from. So if in the chat, you don't have to give me a dissertation, but just put down like what school. I'm kind of curious if we've been to some of your schools. So hey, Jesse, back to you.
No, that's good. That's
Right,
good.
Marymount, we've been there. Okay.
No, that's good. I'm glad you asked that. I did have a question for you, Danielle. I don't know if I missed this asking you because it was something that was asked. Is there a clearance required?
Yeah, so there is a clearance requirement for the Department of Navy, NAVSEA, Washington Navy Yard, minimum of a secret clearance. So yes, you do have to obtain one, even as an intern.
Okay. And Ed, for the Air Force?
I was reading all the schools. You caught me off guard. Yeah, security clearance is required, and as mentioned earlier, the thing that we start looking at right off the bat is suitability. You know, so but which is just kind of a prelim. The way to look at it is like a preliminary background. There's certain things they look for before they go deep into the actual security clearance.
That works. And speaking of security clearances, I always have something to put in there. I want to make sure that whenever you do your security clearances, don't be afraid. If you had a DUI at one time or you had 4 speeding tickets, just be honest with whatever is on your background when they're doing the background investigation, because they will look in there, especially if you're getting a security clearance, like a secret clearance or above, or even any kind of clearance. They're going to check and see what your records are like. Do you have bad credit? Have you ever been arrested? You have a DUI or you have speeding tickets. You need to be honest with the people that are asking you the questions, because that's what's going to keep you from getting a job and not getting a job. I'm not saying that because you have that, you're not going to get a job, or you are, but you have to be honest. You don't want an investigator to come back and say, well, you gave us all your information, but we have 7 things that you didn't put on here. Is there a reason you didn't have it on there? You want to be honest. I think that's what keeps people sometimes from getting those clearances, is they're not honest whenever they're being asked the questions, or they forgot. But just, go back and look at everything. And you got to talk to your family and let them know, like, hey, do you remember anything? Make sure that you put all that information in there, because that's going to help. That's going to make a big difference of you getting the clearance or not getting the clearance, because honesty is the best policy, especially when you work for the DoD. You want to be upfront about everything. See, I know we're getting a lot of questions that are coming in. I see Ed, Ed's looking at questions when he's like dipping into the screen. So I know he gets excited about that, which I love. Okay, I know we had another question that came in for the Navy as well, Miss Danielle. They were asking about, does NAVSEA have any additional programs that support seasoned disabled veterans seeking employment?
So programs specifically for the Washington Navy Yard, I'm gonna say not programs. We're actually working right now to get connected with the Skill Bridge. So that is a program focused for active duty military, kind of moving into an internship. Um, but other than that, we do have a veteran talent community. I could drop the link into the chat. We use this a lot, actually. So we have a resume database, that we collect talent, and so we have this talent network, and our hiring managers are actually in charge of that, kind of pulling the information and kind of sending that talent out. For opportunities. So I would say that right now would be our talent community. And then, of course, we have the different hiring authorities that we can utilize for veterans as well.
Okay. And then here's another question that was being asked about internships. And I'm pretty sure some of you might have gone over this, but just in case, and I know they're being particular, it says NAVSEA and NAVAIR, but they're asking, like, what are some steps that they can take to help them earn an internship at certain branches of the different companies that are out there throughout DoD? They specifically did mention NAVSEA and NAVAIR, but I'm sure that was just what they were saying, that they're talking about DoD.
Okay, yeah. I guess I will just repeat kind of what I said earlier with the Navy entities, going to those larger career fairs that are STEM focused, but then also we post on Handshake, USA Jobs, and we do a lot of campus activity as well. Like Ed, we try to go to a lot of different schools, but we don't hit all of them. So going on USA Jobs, connecting with me on LinkedIn. Or Handshake, those types of things are be beneficial.
Okay. So Ed, did you want to add anything, or Crystal?
How about if Crystal, since I wasn't paying attention and I'm answering questions?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. The people are asking about what steps can they take to help them earn an internship at certain branches.
Oh, at certain branches?
So you can speak on the Air Force.
Okay, got it. I was like, I don't know about everyone else.
Yeah.
So the internship, and I saw this question in the chat a little bit ago. But first, the intention is for you to do that summer internship program with us. So that's the Premier College Intern Program. It's 10 to 12 weeks, so it gives you some hands-on experience. It lets you determine if you're a good fit with us or if we're a good fit for you. You know, we're kind of testing each other out. So if you're a good fit, then that next summer you would come again and do another internship with us. And then the intent after that is for you to join or for you to convert into the Palace Acquire or PAC or Copper Cap program, what I talked about earlier. And that's where you start that developmental program. So with the PSIP, it's like hands on testing us out, but then it's that 10 to 12 week internship. But then when you convert and you do that PAC developmental program with us, it's a full time program. Like you're working for us full time. We're developing you, we're investing a lot of time and energy into you and helping you grow. So for us, go to those websites that Mr. Bujan talked about, afintern.com, and that would be the best way to get into these programs.
Okay. I think that's awesome. I think a lot of people don't understand also when it comes to the PAC program that if you go into the program, that you'll end up going in as a 7 and you come out as an 11, and in some cases a 12. And I can tell you in careers, whenever you're going up like that, when you don't go through this program, it could take somebody 10, 12 years, depending on what they're doing, to get to that next grade. So just, being a 12 or an 11 at 22, 23 years old, that's huge. I mean, that's huge. That starts your career really early and really fast.
Well, it's true. I had an email from an old colleague, and we used to work together maybe 10 years ago. And she sent me an email this morning, and she said, "Hey, I just accepted a new position. I've been a GS5 for 14 years. And now I'm going to be a GS6, and here I am, just a couple years later, a GS11, getting ready to promote. And all the GS11 is, it's a different pay grade. You're getting paid a little bit more. So as the numbers go up, your salary goes up, and you might be a supervisor at that point. But that's kind of how that works. But yes, to speak to your point, I had an email that exactly said that.
Oh wow, yeah. So this is a great program to get into if you're able to, and it's just awesome because the benefits are there. I know we've got about 5 minutes left, but I know that we were having questions that people were asking about the benefits that they get when they pay back student loans, being able to work on an MBA when they're in the program. Did anyone of you want to answer that or take that on? Because I know in the Air Force I've heard that a lot. Or Danielle, if you have any response for that.
Okay, so I'm guilty of what I was in the chat. Sorry, Jesse. What was the question?
That's okay. That's okay. I see. That's great though that y'all are in that chat.
I know we're like in there.
No, that's great. That's what we want to do. We want to answer everyone's questions. We've got 4 minutes left, but I
Okay.
want to kind of hit on the whole thing with the student loan repayments, or even possibly getting your MBA while working for the DoD. How does that work?
Yes, so we offer both, and so it's really discussed. Our HR staffing specialists know that we have that as a recruitment incentive, and we do have that here. And they discuss that when they're making offers, and we actually talk about that when we're going out recruiting with, to individuals as well. And then, of course, when you come on board, if you do want to pursue a higher degree, we do assist with the payment of school with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Ed, do you want to add anything to it? You got about 2 minutes.
I think I'm good. I think Danielle pretty much the same as us in regards. So I mean, yeah, we have student loan repayments, and part of benefits. You got holidays off. We love when October, November, December get here because we get federal holidays off. I real quickly, mail opened up with the furlough, and one of the reasons was because, again, one of the things that was asked earlier, things that we think could affect or impact coming into working for government, and the amount of time that I have been working for the government, as a civilian for like 18 years. Not once have I seen a pink slip be given to somebody. So, if you're looking for job security, we are pretty much a provider that I feel very comfortable that this is a good career that not only to start, but to also get yourself into the federal government service. So student loan repayment, the promotions, there's just a lot of great benefits. I consider us as competitive, and in some cases even more competitive than our industry partners. But I'm biased.
No, you're not. You're good. Okay, thank you, Ed. And before we leave, I want to go ahead and ask everybody if they can post in the chat how they learned about this event. Was it a friend, was it a family member, was it social media, was it advertising software? You can just put in the chat how you heard about it. It would be great. Okay, so with that being said, we've got about 2 minutes left, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank everybody. So on our journey together today, that's come to an end, but the door to your future remains wide open. We extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for joining us today. We hope that this session has ignited your passion and curiosity for the incredible opportunities that await you within the Department of Defense. From hands-on real-world training to student loan repayment programs and the prospect of embarking on a dynamic professional career after successfully completing your program, the DoD is your gateway to a world of possibilities. Don't forget, all the resources we've discussed today and more are at your fingertips on DoD Civilian Careers website. Dive into your next chapter of your journey at DoD, or should I say www.dodciviliancareers.com. Again, that's www.dodciviliancareers.com. Where will you find your fit? Thanks again. We'll see you next time.